Well, good morning. Can anyone hear me out there? Good morning, Patty, and good afternoon and good day, Patty Swimler. Can you hear me on there? If you can hear me, let me know. I'm just testing everything as I always do. Oh, I heard a bloop, so somebody said something. Sounds good. Mary, how are you this morning? Kind of little chilly today in Ohio. A little bit of rainy out there, but they're calling for 67 tomorrow and partly cloudy. So I think spring has finally sprung, or at least is starting to. Oh, a whole bunch of people just jumped on. Nearly 60 in Minnesota. Holy smokes. Holy smokes. Yes, spring is sprung. It is here. I don't want to curse myself, though. I know if I say something like that, we'll get like a blizzard for a week. Not really. Yeah, it is still March. Here in Ohio, we've had snow into May, so I'm not really 100%. But the 15-day right now doesn't show any snow, so that puts us in the middle of April. So that's actually pretty good. And here in Ohio, our worst snow, we had one really bad snow, and it was a really deep one. And then we had very little snow otherwise. In fact, I don't think we got our first snow until January, which is rare for us here. It was a very mild winter thus far. Oh, good morning, Sugar's Mama. How are you? 2 more minutes. Yes, it is a happy Sunday. Got 8 people watching so far. 2 more minutes before we start this puppy. Cool and sunny in Texas. Good morning, Donna. How are you this morning? I'm drinking iced tea and being very excited about it, by the way. Oh, good, good. Hey, guys, for those of you who are on a low carb, low calorie diet, I just this morning tried monk fruit sweetener, and it is amazing. It tastes just like sugar in iced tea, but 0 carbs, 0 calories. Really, really wonderful. I really like it, and on top of it, it doesn't mess up your glycemic index, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, really good. It's not as cheap as sugar. Sugar's really cheap. Yeah, I can't. I tried stevia. I don't like the aftertaste of stevia. This stuff tastes just like sugar. It's really pretty amazing. Monk fruit sweetener. Yeah, keto. Keto is a great diet. Great diet. I think we're about to go here in 1 minute. 1 minute. You probably can tell I'm about 5 or 6 seconds delayed compared to what you guys are seeing on YouTube. So I'm not really delayed. What I'm seeing is the countdown on my screen. That's definitely off by about 4 or 5 seconds from you guys. Yeah. Oh yeah. It is wonderful stuff, that monk fruit. 20 seconds. Welcome to the Live Loving live stream with John Davis. Well, hello and good morning to you all. Is everyone hearing me? Let me double check my sound. All right, make sure you're all hearing me. Yes, it says you're all hearing me, so that was good. Listening outside, but going to work outside now. There you go. Nice. Oh, thanks for the nice new intro. I'm very proud of it. I actually have this cool little gadget. It's a motorized gimbal that you put your phone on, and you can just click this button, and it slowly moves across the desk or whatever you're trying to do. It's really cool little gadget. Love it, love it, love it, love it. So I hope you guys are doing well this morning. I am doing very, very well. Iced tea with monk fruit, my friends. No water for me this morning. I am thoroughly enjoying I thoroughly enjoyed my scrambled eggs yesterday. They were wonderful. I just loved eating them. It was like eating nirvana. It was great. It was a very passionate thing to do for me. Oh, food. Things are good. I feel good. I'm still very clear-headed. I'm coming out of the fast with no issues whatsoever, feeling wonderful. I'll be curious to see what happens when the food starts processing. Probably today I'll probably start going through my body, but we'll see how that works out. But all in all, the 40 days was a great experience, and it was very wonderful. Caroline, do things taste better than ever? Yes, the flavors are so much more pronounced. And I often talk about the idea of when somebody's addicted to something and they take their cigarette or they take their drink and they go and they exhale. That's how every bite is for me right now. Nice, Mary. Hello, Atlanta. Welcome to the Live Loving live stream, Robert. Good to see you. So, guys, of course, I have to start this with some sort of joke, just because it's a sort of a tradition. I looked these up online. So, this was a story from a Catholic family. Our fourth grader celebrated his birthday on crutches, so he couldn't carry the cupcakes into school without help. I asked our sixth grader Noah to help his brother carry them in. I could, he said, but I'd prefer not to. Spotting a teaching moment, my husband asked Noah, "What would Jesus do?" Noah answered, "Jesus would heal him so he could carry his own damn cupcakes in." I just like the story. I think it's fun. Yeah, I love it. One of the oh, your name's Noah too. Hello, Noah. So Noah, that's great. You were the guy who said you carry your own damn cupcakes in, huh? Life is good, guys. Life is very good. And one of the things that makes it so good for me personally is that I get to deal with you guys. I get to talk to you guys and comment with you guys. And, I do the private sessions and I get to work with people who are really stepping into their own power. One of the tough parts about being an empathic person or someone who wants to help is people will latch onto that and really come to you for help. And sometimes you have to draw lines. And it's interesting because as many of the private sessions that I do that are just wonderful. I just love them. And working with people individually to me is a great experience. But I get daily many messages, many emails of people asking me to give emergency readings or free readings or of things of that nature. And I was kind of curious what your thought is on that. I look at the ones who are coming to me in an emergency situation like that, and I empathetically feel for them, of course. But I get so many, if I start giving away free readings, number one, it takes away from my own income. Number two, but it also, even more so, it wouldn't be fair, I don't think, to give it to single people out and give it to when so many are asking. And all the information that I would give anyway, besides the personal stuff, are on the YouTube channel itself. So, what are your thoughts on that? I am, I always want to be of service. I always want to be of help. But where do you draw a line in that kind of situation? 9 times out of 10, when someone contacts me like that, it's because they have disempowered themselves. They've decided that they can't and they won't. And all of the information they really need is right on the YouTube channel. But I don't know. Give me your thoughts on that. I'd be really curious to know what your thoughts and your ideas are on that situation, because it's sort of a quandary for me personally, because I want to help. I want to be of service, but I really can't give away all the hours of my day. So let me know what you think on that. Other than that, the world is still moving forward, and Ukraine is still having its issues, and we are dealing with sending our love and our compassion there, and that's what we should continue to do, because that part of the world desperately needs that love and compassion. Thank you, Noah. That's a really, really wonderful thing to say. I try to make sure that all the teachings are on the channel. Well, the interesting thing, Roni, is that I am doing to make my week work the way it has to work, because I am constantly editing videos and creating videos. So that takes a lot of my time. And then the rest of my time is either writing my book, spending time with my son, or on the 4 days a week that I do readings, private sessions, I start at like 10 o'clock in the morning and I go to 10 o'clock at night on those days. And the time is tough. The time is tough, because my days are filled as they are right now, and giving away free readings. My question then would be is giving it to someone free really helping them, or is that just feeding their lack of manifestation, lack of stepping into power? Because then now they're saying, I need you, as opposed to empowering themselves. It's a real quandary for me. I really am going over this in my head in a big way. Well, thank you, Caroline. That's really very nice. Yeah, the 12 hours a day. Well, and the reason I do 12 hours a day on those days is because I only have those certain days that I can do them, and people all over the world would like readings. So I'm doing a lot of readings for people in Australia, which is interesting. I'm getting a lot of Australians, and so 10 o'clock at night is like 8 o'clock in the morning or something. It's really kind of strange, the time they are. It's a different time of the day for them. So all the different time zones. I've been speaking for people in Romania and Italy and Japan and it's all over the world, and their time frames are just different. So by setting up a 12-hour day like that, I actually get a chance to help them choose their time that works for them. And at the end of that 12-hour day, I'm tired. I'm really worn out. There you go. It's 3 a.m. There you go. There you go, Noah. 3 a.m. in Australia right now. So by having a right now it's noon, right? So by having it up until 10 o'clock at night, I actually have the ability. And you guys, Australia, you guys are see what is it? You're in the future right now. For us. Yeah, I agree with you, Caroline. If you can't earn a living, you won't have your love. But there comes a point where you have to go, am I giving enough free content? I think all the personally, my personal opinion, I think all the information is there. All the information is on the channel. It's just a matter of people going through the channel and looking for it. And when I look at the the channel itself, I read every comment and I try to at least acknowledge, if not answer every comment personally. And that takes time too. So my days right now are filled with John of New stuff. So in my opinion, do what makes you feel good. Only you know schedule and energy level, your schedule and energy level. It's true. And there are some things in my life that are most important to me, not more, but necessarily most important to me. And one of them is my son. So I can't give up my time for my son. So those times when I'm not with my son, I have to be writing my book or I have to be doing the sessions. So my days are really, really very filled. What I've learned is I don't have to answer or respond there are times when my phone is off. Oh, interesting. I don't necessarily think I understand what you're saying there, but hopefully that you can clarify because I'd like to know. What would Jesus do? Jesus would love himself and others equally, and for my take on this certain situation, I really do believe that each one of us needs to step into our own power. We're that's what Jeshua taught, was that we are the creator of our experience. And I think when someone is so desperate to seek outside of themselves, when all the information's right there, is they've got a blinder on. They've got blinders on. And it's funny, I often get, like on the YouTube channel, the same questions over and over and over and over again. And a lot of times my comment will be, I already did a video on this, it's back at the beginning, go back and take a look, right? And the reason I do that is because I want them to go back and actually look at the information because it's right there. I could make the same videos over and over and over again, and all the new people would get great things out of it, but all you guys who are there all the time would get the same content over and over and over again. And so I really don't want to do that to you because you are very loyal to me. And then I get the ones who I ask a question and I respond to, and then they don't see my response, so they just put the same question on tons of different videos, and then I have to say, listen, I've already answered this, or I told you I've added the video for this. Oh, there you go. I don't have to respond immediately. I chose my times what I thought. Well, what I do is I check in a couple times a day, and then I answer a bunch at once. I don't do them one at a time. I do actually give some time to myself because you have to recharge, because if you're not recharging yourself, you're worth nothing to anybody else if you're not recharged, because you have to keep your energy up as well. That's why I often talk about ego being self-awareness. I'm very aware of who I am and my energy levels. And when I look at the idea of getting overbloated and out of and self-important and narcissistic, that's an ego out of balance to the big extent. And then the ego out of balance to the small extent is giving too much of yourself away, so that you're not recharging or re-energizing. And to me, that's important, that we all energize. I agree with you, Caroline. The idea might actually be to create a singular video that says, "Are you feeling disempowered?" And then when someone comes to me, send them that video. Might be an easy way. Aha, balance. Yes, I am balanced. It's I want to help. Like I say, I want to be a helpful person, and the way I help is to put the information out. But I fully understand that I have to make a living as well. So I put the stuff out, and like the discounts. Like we have a discount on readings right now. If you look on the community page, it's there because I have an upcoming interview, and I always give you guys the discounts that I give people who hear those interviews. So, but the idea of giving away all my time is a tough one for me, because you look at people and you want to help. I think so. I think you're probably right, Roni. I think my time is so full, and I think I really need to tell the people that are coming at me for free readings that, do you value my time, and do you value your time? Because you can come to me and get a great reading and great session, but if you don't value the time, then you're not going to put what I say into practice anyway. And it's a very interesting thing. There's studies on psychotherapy that when they do pro bono work, the effect of psychotherapy is much less. And when they charge full fees, the effect of psychotherapy is much higher, because people have put an emotional investment in saying, I am buying something, I am buying healing. And I don't want to ever want to put it that way, but I want to put it to the idea of the concept of when people put value in something, then they tend to value it. And when people feel desperate and separate, they're looking for an answer outside of themselves. And you know my old quote, when you seek a path will be laid before you. But until you turn the door back, until you turn the path back to yourself, you'll never find the doorway. They got to find their doorway. And I can sit here and give free readings all day long to turn people back to their doorway. But if they don't value it and they constantly think they're alone or separate, then I think that it's almost moot in that regard. Things are always pressing for things for free, and that's an interesting thing, and a great topic, because in spiritual circles they think money is bad, and oftentimes they'll either want it for free, or they'll want me to give my sessions for free or something of that nature. But when I look at the idea of money being bad, I had someone the other day. When I first started the membership site, I immediately got somebody who told me this was wrong and she'll have nothing more to do with me. And I was, I was like, okay, but my thought was that she has a bad relationship with money, and she's obviously living in some sort of lack. And I often tell the story of Jeshua. We stayed at Lazarus's house. Well, Lazarus had tombs dug for him and his family. Lazarus had land and property. Lazarus was a wealthy man, and we often stayed at his house because he was a wealthy man. He took care of us, right? Jeshua was buried in Joseph of Arimathea's tomb, a wealthy man who bought him off the cross, right? So wealthy people helped Jeshua all the time. And so money is not bad. It's in the Bible, it's the love of money is the root of many evils. And it's not the money is the root of all evil. It's the love of money is the root of many evils. And when you look at that quote, it really comes down to, what are you focused on? Are you focused on the money? Are you focused on the lack? Are you focused, whatever you're loving, whatever you're putting your love into? I love being a victim. I love being in lack. I love being out of control. I love the adrenaline rush of the next thing I'm addicted to. Those are what you're putting your love into. And what you put your love into is what God gives you. So it's a fascinating. People work for free elsewhere. I doubt it. Yeah, Mary, I agree with you. And I don't mean this to make this a whole topic about people asking for free stuff, because they are obviously in a bad place. And I guess it really comes down to me coming to the realization that I've already put out all the information. It's just a matter of redirecting them. Hello, Marcy. How are you? Glad to see you. You've missed a therapy session where the entire group is giving me therapy. But I appreciate all you guys' input, because it really is it's been a quandary for me. And this morning I triggered again because I had somebody else contact me this morning with a quote on emergency reading, and I had to question it, and I haven't even replied to her yet, because I get it. Like I said, I usually get one or two of those a day, but sometimes they can get to three, four, 5 a day of people wanting the free reading because it's an emergency. I'm like, where they are emotionally is desperation, and in desperation you don't find answers, because that's what I am desperate. That's what you're asking God for, and God gives you desperate. And it's a matter of me. God, I think someone said it earlier about the information is there. Maybe making a video that guides them to maybe a video about desperation. That would be interesting. About being desperate instead of being empowered. Did you guys get that last? I opened up and this came through message. What are your thoughts on that one? Is that Jacques or Jackie? You like desperation as a topic, Marcy? Yeah, I think it might be a good one, because a lot of people are come to me out of desperation, and the interesting thing about what I teach and what I talk about is that it's about self-empowerment and stepping into your own divinity, your own source power, your Christed self, right? And by coming to that space and saying, listen, this is who you are, this desperation, you are creating that. You are creating that experience. And oh, thanks, Noah. I wonder how to rid myself of lack mentality without having ack mentality. Ack. Well, that's a great comment. But let me just say this: I wonder is I am wondering. That means I am not having the answer. How to get rid of my lack mentality. The only way to get rid of your lack mentality is to catch your present moment beliefs and change them. Oops, Mary, that's funny. So it literally, it's so simple, but everybody has the same struggle. I have the same struggle. Everyone has the same struggle. We're so into creating on autopilot, creating from our subconscious beliefs, that we forget. But the only way you change it is to get very conscious and be born again. Start something new. This is a great question. When you channel, do you talk to your higher self or to another spirit? Somebody asked this on the comments on that video. Oh, there you go. Okay, because I've known many Jacques as well. But hello, Jackie. But when people ask me who I'm channeling, is it some higher entity? Is it some group of people? Is it group of entities? Honest to God, what I truly believe it is us. I believe it's tapping into the consciousness of oneness. And the reason it sometimes says we or us is because it's talking about you and me and the person next to you and everybody. I believe it's tapping into the universal consciousness of all. So when I drop into that state, I'm literally going into love. Well, what is love? Love is God, and we are one with God. So by dropping into that state, I'm dropping into that love state, which is oneness. And so I believe we're actually tapping into the all information, or as the Hindus would call it, the Akashic records. I'm just dropping into the knowledge of the one. And I'm glad that makes sense to you, Marcy. It makes sense to me too. So, by the way, the scrambled eggs tasted great yesterday. For everybody who was curious about that, I had a couple questions about that earlier. The scrambled eggs were amazing. My little machine here popped the tire. So what questions you guys want to get into today? We got about a half an hour more to go. So quantum physicists call it the quantum non-locality. All right. The question of quantum physicists, quantum physics in general, it's fascinating about quantum physics because scientists only deliver measurable facts, and they have no they can't put faith into their facts. But the fascinating thing is when they create a theory and then they go search to prove their theory, their theory is their belief. And then when they go to prove their theory and they prove their theory, is it out of belief that they're proving it? It's an interesting concept, but who knows? Eggs are a superfood. You are correct, ma'am. I was wondering if you have any memories of Jeshua talking about the devil. If so, was he referring to an entity or concept? I actually did a video on this early on in the channel, and it's interesting. The devil that we talk about in modern Christianity is based upon the constructs of Dante's Inferno, which was written in the 1300s. Prior to that, it was a much more ambiguous sort of concept. And then when you get into the what Jeshua taught that we have our fear and our latent reactions from our subconscious beliefs and things of that nature can make us do negative things, and they are our devil, the things that make us do bad things, right? But it really is from our own belief system that those things happen. And so that is one element. And then the next element of this is, if you believe in a devil, do you believe in hell? And hell, according to the ancient text, when they translated it from the original text, the word hell was Gehenna, and Gehenna, when they translated it from the ancient text into hell, at that same time, on the outskirts of Jerusalem was an area called Gehenna, and it was where you went to burn your trash. So all the bad things went and burned in Gehenna. And so the concept of hell itself wasn't even a reality either. It was about, burning for your sins, you're going to have problems, you're going to get hurt, you're going to have issues if you succumb to fear and anxiety and stresses and do things that are out of the action of those fears. And so your devil is literally inside of you, and your hell is just the circumstances with which you allow your devil to create. So if that makes any sense at all. Well, a bunch of questions came in. What was non-duality? You have to give me your definition of non-duality, because there's so many different ways that can be translated. Do you get to the channeling state by ultimate meditation? What is ultimate meditation? I'm not sure what that is. I get to the channeling state just the same way I get into the sitting in the love state. I ask a question, I let it go, I sit in the love state, and then when a word forms in my head, I just say it. And when I say it, it usually followed by another word. And then you'll probably notice in those videos, it starts coming really fast, and I try to play catch up the entire time. I have listened to other people who channel or spiritual teachers, and I do a lot of reading, and especially online research, especially on text. But I try to go to sources rather than people interpreting sources, if that makes any sense. Because I want to get I don't want a middleman between me and whatever the source is. And sometimes when I look at people who channel, I see me in the early days of when I channeled, when I needed the entity or the other voice in my head because I didn't have the self-worth. I see a lot of other people who will have these distinct separate personalities, and I think that it's literally them not being comfortable with their oneness. Some spiritual people quote physics so much It can sound like gobbled gunk, and I'm a nerd. Well, it's interesting because it can seem like gobbled gunk because there's so many quantum physicists and metaphysicists that all come at it from different perspectives. That they all have their own theories. So I'm really curious, as really curious whether the like I said before, if their theory itself is creating an answer that they want. I'm not really sure. Devil equals fear. Pretty much, it pretty much is. It's your own. The definition of sin is missing the mark, right? The moments when you miss the mark, what caused you to miss the mark? Your devil, your fear, the things that are causing you to miss your mark. Nerds are my favorite people. Mine too. My son is a big nerd, and I love him to death. It's crazy watching your channel. Fascinating. Well, I'm glad you find it crazy too. I find it crazy too. Rupert Spira. I don't know Rupert Spira. I would like to read his interpretation of what that means, because there's so many. The oneness, non-duality. It's not us and them. It's the oneness. I believe in oneness, and I believe that Jeshua taught the oneness. And as many of you know, Jeshua is said to have been in India before he came back to Israel, and in India they call him the Prophet Isa or Sri Isa, and a lot of his teachings were Buddhist / Hindu in their concepts, because they were what he believed. So he taught what he believed, and as far as duality or oneness, he believed in oneness. Some are fine, some metaphysicians or quantum physicists, yeah. There are some that I find interesting, like the, I don't even know, Neil deGrasse Tyson, and he talks about, well, no one could get here because the distances are too vast, right? And it's interesting because the James Webb Telescope is seeing evidence of warp bubbles. Supposedly, it just came out yesterday, and if there's warp bubbles, that means travel between stars is possible. So scientists will say it can't be done based upon our technology. So what if there's another race out there that's got more advanced technology? I mean, it's really just a different or a different understanding of the universe. It's just a very different thing. So I find that it's like when you watch the Ancient Aliens show, and they're like, well, obviously this was alien, and they're like, no, that's not obvious that was alien, but it could have been, sure, but it's not. They make these assertions that it has to be the way that they believe, and that's to me interesting. There you go. Perhaps duality for human is that we can feel both love and fear. Absolutely. And I actually look at fear as more of an absence of love than its own separate entity, if that makes any sense. Good morning, and another congrats on your Waterfast. Congrats on the Waterfast, John. Well, thank you, Boopster. I'm really, really very happy with the results of that. All told, over 60 pounds down, with including my prep. Feeling great. Did Jesus say turn the other cheek? To me, it seems like accepting abuse, perhaps. It's an interesting perspective. I've had comments and talked to people about this exact thing on a different video, one of the earliest videos, actually. And it's interesting because I tell the story about someone standing in my face and yelling at me, and saying that I did nasty things with my mother, you mother, whatever, and me just standing there and not allowing them to affect me, and I had someone who wanted to argue that I was allowing them to abuse me. I said, and my response was, you can only be abused if you decide to be abused. I stood there, stood my ground, stared him in the face, and said, well, how do we fix this? And 10 minutes later, he came back and apologized because I didn't give him the reactive response. I turned the other cheek. I did not give him the response he expected. He expected a fight. And by not giving him a fight, he apologized. And so by turning the other cheek, you're literally saying, don't succumb to your fear. Stay in your state. Stay in positive. Stay in love. And when that person was mad, all I could see when he was yelling at me was the fear in his state and the things that he was creating. And when I spoke at corporate events, I used to say, be an action hero, not a reaction zero. And it's the same thing. Someone's coming at you with their fear-based action. Your job is not to react to it. Your job is to stay in action mode and go, okay, they're in fear, so I am doing this. Don't allow yourself to get emotionally connected to their fear, because then you're living their life and not your own, if that makes any sense. So, feeling fear is a hint to look for love. Absolutely, I agree with that at all. Feeling fear, you're saying, okay, what am I afraid of? Become passersby. I'm not 100% sure what you mean by that, Noah. Will become passersby. I would say let fear pass by. Let people coming at you with fear pass by. But I think connection with other people is hugely important in this world because we're all one anyway. Fear is an absence of love. Yeah, that's what I think. I love this forum of being able to chat and answer your questions as we go. It's really an interesting concept. This whole idea of fear being an absence of love. I equate it oftentimes, and you've probably heard me say this before, where it's like being inside of a room made of love and being part of that love, but you have a fog machine right next to you, and you can take your hand, you can crank it up, and the fog lets you not see the room. And then you can crank it down, you can see it all. And the only thing you have to realize is that your hand is on the knob. You're the one in control of how much you crank your fear up or crank your fear down. You're the one who cranks it up and can't see all the love, or cranks it down and sees the love. But you've got to get into the state where you realize you are the one turning the knob. You are the one who's allowing yourself to drop into a fear state. And when you allow yourself to drop into a fear state, you're much more likely to have a negative response because you're yourself in a fear state. Love yourself enough to walk away too, in love if necessary. Absolutely. There are times in my life when I say, well, you calm down. We'll talk about this when you calm down, and walk away. And that is really it. The main thing is don't allow yourself to be drawn in by their fears. And a lot of times people become abused when they begin to adjust their life around somebody else's fears, anger, or anxieties. And then they become abused. They are used wrongly, abused. And so, because the other person is going to use you wrongly. And I'll give you an example. If you know somebody who's just a negative person, and if you can't think of one, you better check yourself, right? But if you know somebody who's just a negative person, you'll know they always have something to be negative about, and it wears you down. And after a while, you're gonna be like, oh, you're gonna be worn down. Why are you worn down? Because the negative person is coming to you and dumping their negativity on you, and you're taking it in. They're actually taking energy from you. They're eating energy from you. When you say, okay, I'm done. I can't deal with your negativity any longer. What is the first thing they do? They go to someone else and point at you and say, do you see what they did to me? You become the next negative thing that they talk about, right? Nothing can happen with that negative person towards the positive until they choose to. But you can live and experience the negativity yourself and be worn down by their negativity just by allowing them to do it to you. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do in life is be a consequence. Sometimes you have to be the one who says no more. And you have to there are people in my life who I literally have said, we're done. As long as you're still drinking or doing drugs, we're done, because I don't care if you like to drink or do drugs, but when you become a jackass when you drink or do drugs, and because of that, we can't be friends. And I've ended friendships just because of that. When they're sober, they're great people. When they were on drugs or drinking, they were jackasses. And so I literally had to say, the consequence you have is the loss of my friendship. And years later, I've been thanked for that exact thing because it was the wake up call. What was Jesus' thoughts, opinions about sex? Oh, you're getting dirty with me this morning, huh? Most religions make it sound like a sin, like a dirty human business, only to reproduce. What about homosexuality? What were Jesus' thoughts about that? That's a great one. And I have talked about that one. In fact, I just talked about that recently. Love is never wrong. God is love. Love is never wrong. And it's only if it's fear-based intimidation or lust that is not coming from a loving, caring place. Lust based in fear can be harmful. Lust based in love can be wonderful. Love is never wrong. If it's loving, it's right. Right. The question is are you using sex as a power, which is basically afraid of not having power, or are you using sex to express love with someone else? And if that's great. A lot of religions will use it that way for the reproduction aspect of it. They don't want you to have sex out of wedlock for several reasons, because once you're in wedlock, you're in their religion, and you are there to reproduce and create more people for their religion. And so it comes down to keeping their religion going. And so there's a lot of, as far as Jeshua is concerned, I personally don't have those memories, but I'm pretty sure he liked sex. I know he liked his wife a lot. So I'm pretty sure he had sex, and I'm pretty sure that it was all good. So that's my thought on that. Yeah, and you know what? If you're in a marriage, and it's not a loving situation, get out of it. There's nothing wrong with divorce, and people go, "Oh, you can't divorce. You can't divorce." My mother was married to a very not nice man, and after he died, she and I had really deep conversations, and she literally told me, had she not been Catholic, she would have divorced him years ago. So she hung on because she was Catholic, right? I'm like, well, why would you do that? My last wife, I'm not going to say names, but my last wife, it ended up being that she really wanted someone who would repair her Renaissance Festival booths and take care of her aunt, but not someone that she could treat as an equal partner, only someone she could be mean to or power over. And by the end of the relationship, I was like, no, I'm done. I'm done. And when she left, it was there. I did not shed a tear because it was not something to shed a tear over. And so it comes down to, if it's not loving, don't have it in your life. Because why do you want to live your life without love? Good job for you, Roni. No more harassment. I left after 21 years of employment. I have quit several jobs, and I've quit jobs specifically because of the morality of the owners, of people that were screwing other employees over. They were doing illegal things in their offices, and I said, nope, I'm not involved. I'm not. And I've told them to their faces exactly what I thought when I left, and I've never asked for a referral or a recommendation from them at all, and that's okay, because I would much rather feel good about myself than work for somebody who is doing illegal or immoral things. Recovering Catholic stayed too long. Yep. Yep. Love yourself more. I am stray. And interestingly enough, a lot of gay people, gay men who couldn't come to terms with their homosexuality became priests. Now, how do I know that? I grew up in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, which is known as the nation's gay summer capital. And the Catholic Church had a mansion on the beach right at the end of the boardwalk where all the attractions were. And in the summertime, all the priests would vacation in Rehoboth Beach. And you would go out and to eat at night, and you'd see the priests out to dinner with the group of guys. And they, you could tell who was gay and who wasn't, because it's a very flamboyant town. And see, it was just obvious. So when we see priests out to dinner with their boyfriends, we didn't think anything of it because we saw it on a regular basis. I actually have a chapter in the book that I'm writing right now that it's about how the Catholic faith has denied people their right to love the way they want to love, and so they've denied God to those people. If you love someone of the same sex, it's love. It's not anything other than love. And when they say you're not allowed to love that way, which is now if you want to talk about it biblically, there's a couple of statements in the Bible that are used to say that you can't do that. The big one is Paul, who said marriage is between a man and a woman, right? So that's the first one. The other one that they use a lot is in Sodom and Gomorrah. They talk about people came to see the angels and they wanted to have sex with them, and that was wrong because the angels were male, and so there was this. But when you look at the translations, they said, let them come out so we may be with them, and they took the translation as be, meaning have sex with. It's just it's somebody's translation that be means have sex with, and so everything else is so very ambiguous. There's also a quote in there about you shall not lie with someone of the same sex. But in nature in general, when a certain type of animal gets out of balance between males and females, a certain percentage of the species will become homosexual, and it rebalances out the population. So I think it's a very natural thing, and I think that it's a very, very natural thing. And like I say, if it's loving, that's all that really matters. Rehoboth. Where in Maryland are you, Roni? Could fear also? Fear is often a motivator. The question is it motivating you towards more fear, or is it motivating you to turn back to love? That is the key. Yeah. I'm really Maryland is one of my favorite places. Gaithersburg, really? Did you ever go to the Maryland Renaissance Festival? Not too far from there. There's a smile. Does that smile mean you've been to the Renaissance Festival? Nope. Oh, bummer. I was one of the headlining acts at the Maryland Renaissance Festival for years and years and years. I did a show called Hack and Slash. And then up in Baltimore, we did, at the Chesapeake Arts Center, we did the Hack and Slash Christmas special for years, which was the largest Christmas charity event in the entire region. We raised a ton of money and collected food and clothing for homeless shelters. We did a Habitat for Humanity build. We funded 16 clean water global clean water projects with the Hack and Slash Christmas special. It was one of the most fun things that I ever did in my life. For the most part, it was a musical comedy based upon A Christmas Carol, and I played Ebenezer Hack. But we had a very good friend. Who ended up writing music and doing stuff for Cirque du Soleil. And right now, you can see her now. She travels with the She Shanters, the Navy band, and her name is Maya Rodriguez. She wrote the entire musical, and you can probably find stuff on it on YouTube. You look up Hack and Slash Christmas special. You can probably see the some clips from it or something. But she wrote amazing music, and it turned out really, really well. We were very, very proud of it, to say the least. So what other questions do you guys have? Yeah. Hack and Slash was I was Sir Nigel Hack, my squire was Slash Montant, and the original premise of Hack and Slash was I was a knight who was struck in the head with a cannonball and saw everything 6 inches to the left, and my squire was making me look good and getting rich because of it. And so that was the basis of our first show, and it was a very funny show. Yep, Puke and Snot. I know Puke and Snot very well, especially since it was Mark Sieve and Joe Kudla, and then Joe Kudla passed away, and they replaced him. I shared many a stage with Puke and Snot. In fact, interestingly enough, I owe a great portion of the success of my show to Puke and Snot because, and I know you guys who don't know what Puke and Snot is, it actually is a duo. We were on a very small stage by the front gate at the Renaissance Festival in Maryland, and on the first show, we're sitting there doing our show, and Puke and Snot came to do a show for a weekend, and they got there. They saw this group called Hack and Slash, and they thought, "Oh, we better check out who these guys are." And so they came, and the very first show of the day, we're there, and Puke and Snot are in the back of our audience. Now, in the Renaissance Festival world, they are legends, right? And we're up there, and they're at the back of the show, and we're like, oh no. And then the second show comes, and Mark, Joe, and the owner of the festival are at the back of our audience. And we're like, oh, this can't be good. This can't be good. And after the show, the owner of the festival comes over and he says, "You guys have no idea what just happened." I'm like, yeah, well, meanwhile, we're thinking we're about to lose our stage, we're about to get kicked out of the fair because Puke and Snot had a reputation for running off other two-man sword fighting acts. And we were like, oh. He says, "No, I was sitting in my office, and Mark and Joe just walked in my office and said, 'Have you seen this act up here by your front gate?' I said, 'You need to come with us.' And they took me up to the next show." He says, "They said, after we watched your show, we laughed." He says, "After we finished the show, they turned to me and said, 'These guys are really good. You need to put them on a bigger stage.'" And that's how I ended up getting moving up into the Ren Fair circus, because Puke and Snot actually did something really nice for me, and what a loving gesture. And we became acquaintances. We never really became good friends because we very rarely saw one another. What's the DVD you're seeing on Amazon? Is that the Hack and Slash? Yeah, you search Hack and Slash, you'll find Hack and Slash pretty much everywhere. Yeah, there's several DVDs out there. There's also one called Operation Swashbuckle, and if you find it, it's about our USO tours that we did. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff out there. Anyway, but it was a good time in my life. I really thoroughly enjoyed doing that in my life. There you go. Hack and Slash Christmas special. I'm not, there were several. We had some that were more variety show, and then there was the Christmas special with the musical, and then there was some more that were variety shows. So I'm not sure which video you're seeing, but if it's the Christmas special with me dressed in a nightgown and a gray wig and a tassel hat, that's the musical. Anyway. Do we have any other questions you guys want answered this morning before I wrap this up in about 5 minutes here? Let me know. I'm going to drink my iced tea. Did you guys like that latest channeled piece that came through about why the manifestations aren't happening? I thought that was pretty straight to the point. Spoken very quickly too. Anyway, well, it looks like we're winding down. Not a lot of questions this morning, but we had some interesting topics this morning and some therapy, thanks to you guys coming to me, working me through that process. I really think, to go back to the original question I asked about people, the emergency readings and stuff like that, I really think that I need to guide them towards back to the channel so they can find their own power. Because I think just giving them, feeding their anxiety is not I don't think it's necessarily helpful. So anyway, well, this has been a lovely day, everyone. I hope you have enjoyed this conversation, and next week we will do it again, I promise. Make sure you go out and find something loving to do today, and find something to laugh at and smile at. And so go out, enjoy, and live loving today, my friends. And we will talk to you next week. Thank you for joining us for the Live Loving live stream. Don't forget to spread the love by liking, subscribing, and sharing.